What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Keep It Down podcast. I'm your host, Garrett, joined by my co host, Ty. Ty, say what's up to the people.
What's up, everybody?
Schmag, how you doing, baby?
Good to be back, guys.
Yeah, so just a couple quick housekeeping things. Be sure to follow the pod on Instagram at Keep It Down Pod. We post podcast exclusive content weekly. In our bio, you'll find our link tree, which will take you directly wherever you choose to listen to the pod, whether it be Google Podcasts, Zencaster, Spotify, among many others. Be sure to follow, leave a rating, 5 stars, all that good stuff. Drop a like, give us a comment, some feedback, anything. Boys, just this past Monday, witnessed a splattering of the TCU Horned Frogs all over Mercedes-Benz Stadium. What are our initial thoughts, boys? Are Georgia that good, or were TCU pretenders? What are our thoughts?
Yeah, man, I think it's kind of a case of both. I don't think that TCU was necessarily a pretender, but I mean, just ran into the wrong matchup, man. Georgia is pretty much as close as you can get to a professional team. Them and Bama are right up there. They're the NFL feeder teams. Every year, the NFL is going to have a massive portion of those two teams coming into their league. And man, Georgia really showed why they are just a perennial powerhouse, man. Like, just bigger, faster, stronger. That game was a little bit hard to watch. What are you thinking, Schmag?
Yeah, I mean, I've been a big on the TCU hype train this season. Super big into the Hypnotoad things, and I really liked what TCU did this season, man. And I kind of expected them, especially coming off that crazy Michigan game, I expected them to come out and really play a good game. And I don't think TCU is a bad team. I mean, Max Duggan's obviously a great quarterback. They got a lot of depth at running back. The receivers are great. Defense is really good, even though they play that 3-3-5. But Georgia's just, I don't know. Georgia's just a different kind of team, man. They're back-to-back champions, and they've only lost one game, I think, in the past 2 seasons for a reason. I mean, Kirby Smart's a great coach, and Stetson Bennett played a great season for Georgia. I just honestly don't think there was any stopping the Georgia train. Once they got past Ohio State, I don't think it would have mattered if it was Michigan or TCU. I think the result kind of would have been pretty similar. So
Yeah, I think the schemes were just a big issue. I think TCU was expecting a bit more of like the halfback passing game and little short tight end routes, and Georgia just said, we're just going to go ahead and peel the top off this thing. So, and that's just kind of what they kept going back to. And then, they were running the ball. And, once you let a team like Georgia or the Alabamas of the world start running the ball, it becomes impossible to stop them. That's your only chance is to make them try to sit back and pick you apart through the air. But yeah, I mean, tough to stop that Georgia team, man. Stetson Bennett, at the beginning of the season, I might have been a little of a hater, honestly. He's one of those kids who's just he's older. He's like I think he's older than like 13 NFL quarterbacks or something.
Yeah,
But
he's like 25.
yeah, something crazy like that. But he's a good game manager, man. I mean, I think he improved his draft stock probably 13-fold this year. I mean, I could see him going in the first round, maybe early second. But I mean, this begs the question again, just like last year. Georgia's going to lose a bunch of talent to the NFL. Are they just going to reload again, or are we actually going to see a decline like we were expecting kind of last year? So definitely something to keep an eye on. They do have a very favorable schedule, so it's not exactly great news for everyone else in the college football world, but
Yeah, and also want to add that I don't think that like the Big 12 and the SEC are like that far away as that game showed. You know what I mean? Like, they're all
yeah,
still college kids. Like, we see it all the time where different conferences compete. But I think this game was just a classic case of one team coming out and playing just about as poorly as you can, and the other team just catching fire and just never looking back. Like, TCU, just the game went about as bad as it can go for you, and Georgia, just everything's going your way, everything's working. Like, no matter what you're calling, you're scoring in 3 or 4 plays. Like, everything's just clicking so easily, and TCU just has no answers the whole night. Like, it was just a dominating game. You know what I mean? I don't think it's one of those things where it's like we should never let a Big 12 team into the playoffs ever again. You know what I mean? I've seen a lot of people saying like, we've seen this before with Cincinnati And now with TCU, like the experiment should be over. And I don't agree with that at all, man. TCU deserved to be in the college football playoff. Obviously, they took down a Michigan team that was at the time considered a powerhouse. Like I said, man, just Georgia just came out and caught fire, and TCU just caught the wrong end of it.
Yeah, I mean, because mind you, I mean Georgia made it to the national championship on a 1 point win over Ohio State, and I mean Ohio State was in position to win and ended up missing a field goal that would have sent Ohio State to the national championship. Then we would have had Big Ten, Big 12 schools in the national championship. So I mean, you know, Georgia is on a completely different level, and there's no doubt about that. You can even make that argument for maybe a couple other of those top SEC teams as well. But I mean, TCU deserved to be there. They had every right to be there, just like Ohio State did, just how, even Michigan did. It's
Hmm.
just, the game went how it went because Georgia's a very well coached and disciplined team. And, I was fully expecting that to be a much different game. And TCU playing the 3-3-5 defense, kind of forcing Georgia to maybe run the ball a little more. But I mean, that did not stop Georgia. It doesn't seem like they went away from their game plan at all. I mean, they were the better team in every single way. So, I mean, kudos to them. I mean, two national championships in a row is crazy stuff. So, kudos to them, man.
Yeah, when we're talking about the variety of teams, I saw I was scrolling Twitter yesterday, and Josh, is it Heupel? Yeah, of head coach at Tennessee. He said that the playoffs should just be the top four SEC teams, and so he was definitely catching some flack in the Twitter replies there. But yeah, just all these people saying that Alabama should have been in. Well, Alabama shouldn't have lost two games then, because that's how it goes. If the more we start playing college football off assumptions, like it's just not even reality. You got to play. You got to win the 12 games to get in. So, but you definitely tell that old Nick Saban was a little salty being on the pregame set and not in the old locker room. So
Yeah, 100%, man. And like the whole like conference beef just has to stop, man. We saw before the game the head coach for TCU, taking a shot at Georgia, saying like, "Oh, like you guys get cupcake scheduled late in the season." But on the flip side of that, like you can see why those SEC teams want to have that cupcake in there. Like they've already gone to war with all these other SEC teams, like three, four times by this time in the season. Like they're ready for a break week, essentially a bye week for them. Not to say the other team that they schedule can't win, but essentially. Um, and so just that kind of stuff is so annoying to me. Like, you mentioned the Tennessee coach saying, "Oh, it should just be the top four SEC teams," and everyone's saying that the Big 12 should never be allowed back in. Like, it's all just way overblown, and it's like the playoffs were exactly the way they should have been set up, and everyone had a fair shot, and that game just got away from TCU. That's all it was. But like this whole interconference beef has just gotta cool off, man.
Yeah, and I mean, mind you, I mean, the college playoff is less than 10 years old. Like 2014 was the first year that they introduced this thing. And I mean, so I mean, it's still changing. Like we're still trying to figure out, like, and the committee's even trying to figure out like who belongs where and like the strength of schedule, all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's going to keep changing too. I mean, next year, um, we're going to see a 12 team college football playoff, which, could be beneficial to some teams because, I mean, they might get an easier game in the playoffs, but I mean, who knows? I mean, it's going to, lengthen the season. And so, I mean, who knows? I mean, there could be a lot of crazy upsets that you see in the first couple rounds. And, um, yeah, yeah, I mean, yeah, I think you're right though, TC. I think the ridicule of other conferences and other divisions is really kind of rough sometimes. I know it's easy for SEC teams to sit there and point the finger at, Pac 12, Big 10, all those other conferences. But I mean, if you win the games, you get in, and that's just how it goes. So,
yeah, just what
Definitely.
Georgia does to teams, man. Like it was kind of the same thing that they did to Oregon. Like it's like. Or in this case, Oregon or TCU, they kind of start getting their feet under them a little bit. You look at the scoreboard, and Georgia's already up by 20. Like, and there's just
yeah.
no recovering from that with a team like that on the other side of the field. Like it seemed like once TCU realized that they were playing a football game, like the game was almost out of question at that point. So, but yeah, no, that Georgia team is loaded. I'm not sure the specifics of who's an upperclassman, who was a lower classman, all that stuff, but
hmm
definitely something to keep an eye on moving forward because, like I said, they do have a favorable schedule. So
Yeah,
Um,
one good thing that did come out of it is it's gonna erase the Oregon loss the first week of the year from everyone's memory as the biggest schwacking of the year. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
No one's gonna remember us getting beat first week out of the gate now, boys. Like all they're gonna remember is that massive, like what was it, 65-7 final score for that Natty, man. Like
Yeah.
there's just oh, so definitely one good thing that came out of all this, boys.
okay,
Yeah,
one
dude.
one quick thing I
TCU.
want to touch on real quick. Sorry, Schmang. Um,
No, you're good.
Georgia got to play 4 games in a neutral site that's 2 hours from Athens, Georgia,
Yeah, this is
in
Right,
their
interesting.
schedule.
I like this point. I really
right.
like where you're going with this.
Like, so they open against Oregon at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. The SEC Championship is in Atlanta. The Peach Bowl in Atlanta. And then I mean, I guess so 3 technically. They got to go to SoFi for the championship, but I mean, 3 games that are considered neutral site, but in your home state. When you're playing Ohio State and Oregon, LSU, which I guess is a little better, but still. So I think some of these, they definitely need to be reevaluated. Some of these quote unquote neutral sites, like move it to a place where there's no college football teams. Like the Las Vegas,
Sure.
perfect. UNLV is never going to be in the playoff. They're like a General Five school. So
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah, but they got so much money invested in those bowls already that to try to move them or change them, and now Atlanta's not getting the Peach Bowl. Like that's a disaster.
it is true.
So I don't know if it's coincidence or if maybe Georgia saw that and was fighting for that one seed all year. Like, hey boys, we got another home game essentially. If we get that number one overall seed, like that could have been a driving factor for them as well as Kirby, man.
Yeah.
Kirby was just feeding those guys propaganda all year, it seems like, because there's all these videos coming out now, like with Georgia on the field after the game saying like, "Oh, everyone thought we were going 5-7. Everyone thought we were going 6-6." It's like, what is Kirby telling these guys? Like, were you
Who
guys
said
not
that?
ranked number one to coming into the season, like defending
Yeah.
national champions? Like your quarterback's coming back. You have a tight end called Big O because he's so damn big. Like
Hmm.
you guys are bigger, faster, stronger than everyone right now, besides maybe Bama. And Bama's been the bar for the past decade.
Yeah.
Like you guys are it right now. You're 1-2. Like you're good. So hats off to Kirby, man, for keeping the guys motivated.
Yeah, he's a great coach, and I mean, I don't know if you guys saw the clip of the locker room like pregame. I mean, I guess speech would be the word for it, but some like audio got leaked of the Georgia locker room like before the national championship, and um, not recommended for children. We'll put it that way. But Kirby Smart had a lot to say, and man, I mean, he's a. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, there's a reason why people go to Georgia and why they're just so successful right now. And I think Kirby Smart's he knows how to recruit people and he just knows how to coach, man. And I don't think, I mean, like I said, there's no stopping that freight train this year. So
Absolutely, boys. I mean, in my recent memory, that's probably the worst splattering that we've seen in the college football playoff for sure. But of course, as Oregon fans were watching, the halftime show pops up, and they're like, "Oh, this is the biggest deficit since the 2016 Alamo Bowl." And so, always catching strays left and right. So,
Definitely. And that's kind of
always.
what I wanted to ask you guys is like, does this remind you of any other like big game letdowns or big game blowouts? Any come to mind? Because for me, the first thing I thought was that Seahawks Denver Super Bowl. Remember Peyton Manning coming in with the number one ranked offense, and
Yeah.
Legion of Boom coming in for Seattle with the number one ranked defense, and Seattle just took it to them for 4 quarters. That's the first thing it reminded me of.
Hmm.
Anything that comes to mind for you guys?
I had Bama versus SC a few years ago. I think it was like when it was like the season opener for SC. They went and like played some bowl game or no, some like game in like a giant
Like a
stadium.
kickoff game
Yeah,
or
it
whatever?
was like a kickoff weekend, dude, and like, and that was like at the peak of the JT Daniels thing and SC. I like
Revival.
how well, yeah, but I'm talking like they don't do that every single year. They're like, oh no, we're SC and we got the number one quarterback from modern day because that's where they get all their quarterbacks, and they're like, this is it, this is going to be the guy, and then it just they come out of the locker room, and there's clips of it everywhere. It's super funny. They come out of the locker room and they're acting like all that, and Bama just whacks them.
Yeah,
I think SC might have had a field goal in that game.
yeah,
So,
right in the heart of like when Bama was just those guys that could
oh
do
yeah,
it. Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, my mind personally goes to the Oregon Florida State playoff game.
yeah,
Like if you think about it, Florida State was the Georgia of that time. You know, they had lost
yeah,
no games in the last two seasons, and then I think what was it 59-20 or something like that. So I mean, that's a
yeah. And the crazy part about that game, it was like pretty close for a bit, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I mean, Oregon just started putting it on, and then you had the backwards fumble thing, and they were just didn't stop. It's like they just lit a match, dude.
dude. And Dalvin Cook put the ball on the floor like I think three times.
3 times that game, which is crazy to think that he would
I
fumble that
know,
many times in a game like that.
ridiculous.
definitely, man. And that game was at the Rose Bowl, man. Petition to get the Rose Bowl back into the playoff picture, man. Having
Yeah,
those
for
those
real.
Rose Bowl games is one of the Final Four, man. Those are awesome. We saw it, Georgia and Oklahoma had a massive showdown in the Rose Bowl, trying to get to a national championship, and then obviously Oregon, Florida State, just a really special venue there at the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, don't quote me on this, but I believe that was like the constituent that was holding the 12-team playoff back. Was that the Rose Bowl like wanted a spot in the college football playoff, like couldn't guarantee it, but then they finally like put pen to paper that the Rose Bowl is going to be one of the, I guess it'll be six playoff games at
Right.
that point.
Which I mean, it
Has to
should
be,
So
be.
man, iconic.
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, that just brought an interesting thought in my head though. What is the 12-team playoff going to do to New Year's Six bowls? Because that essentially takes all of them. Like all
Yeah,
of them. I mean, you're talking Rose Bowl, Peach Bowl, like Cotton, Sugar, probably. That's like four. Like we still need eight more, Or I
yeah.
guess there's only
So
six games total. But
I mean, you would think they would do like 3-3.
yeah,
Hmm.
Or I don't know how they would do that, man. Would they just do like maybe a couple on Friday night and then a bunch on Saturday, or like that'd be
Yeah. I
weird
mean,
scheduling because it's gonna be
it,
essentially like Wildcard Weekend for the
hmm
NFL. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
uh,
Well, I mean, they could run like Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Natty, or like,
yeah,
yeah,
but they gotta
Saturdays.
stay away from Sunday because NFL will still be going for viewership.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's all about networks, dude. It's all about who's gonna
It is.
give the most money and what day they want it on. You know.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking maybe Friday evening would be their starting point, and then maybe do like 2 on Friday, 4 on Saturday, or something like that. I don't
I
know.
mean for the first round, you almost have to have two, like one in each time zone going at the same time, at least for the
Hmm.
first round.
Yeah. We're gonna
So
get a
if you have,
playoff game on like a Wednesday, dude. It's gonna be sick.
Yeah, just one every night for a week.
It's
oh
gonna
my
be on like
gosh,
it's gonna be on like TBS or something. Like,
Oh yeah, dude, just like March Madness.
yeah,
You have like
exactly.
one on like True TV, one on TBS, like
It's gonna,
one going on ESPN. Like you try to flip them back and forth, and then your TV starts acting weird and won't show you recents. And you're like, oh, I gotta
yeah,
scroll down.
dude. It'll be just like the World Cup. You'll wake up at like 6 o'clock in the morning, and it'll be like Tulane and UCF playing in like a bowl game, dude. It'll be dope.
Yeah, cool. Well, I think we kind of went over the Natty guys. Any other stuff you guys wanted to hit from bowl season? Any fun games? We already talked about Tulane, USC. The Rose Bowl was a little bit, you know,
Yeah.
not climatic at all, with Utah getting beaten pretty badly by Penn State. Anything you guys wanted to talk about or bring up or stood out to you guys? Any bowl game in particular?
Yeah. In honor of Dr. Raymond Cross, I would like to point out Tennessee's big win. Tennessee had a big bowl game win over Clemson. You know, Tennessee playing without Hendon Hooker, lost him for the season, and um, backup's escaping my memory right now. But Tennessee's backup came in and played a great game, and Tennessee put it on Clemson pretty good. Obviously, I was a big advocate for Tennessee throughout the season, and all that stuff. So I mean, being able to go in there and without your starting quarterback win a bowl game against a pretty decent Clemson team. I mean, minus the quarterback issues. I think that's not for nothing. So
Yeah, man. How orange was that bowl?
Oh, the orangest bowl I've ever seen, dude.
You just have the two most iconic orange teams in the
Yeah,
Orange Bowl, and like it was just so fun to say when it was on the TV. You're like, look, it's Clemson, Tennessee, and they're in the Orange Bowl.
yeah.
You know, it was so fun. But yeah, that was a really awesome game.
Hmm.
What about you, Chach?
um, much it pains me to say, Oregon State put an absolute
Mm,
beat down on Florida, man, in like the
yeah.
Vegas Bowl. It was like 30-3 or something. So I thought that was really impressive. And, we saw that DJU is transferring to Oregon State. So that'll definitely be interesting to see how that all
Hmm.
shakes out. But, yeah, no, that was, I mean, just shocking. I didn't think, Florida typically, I mean, pretty much always has, good athletes and they're well coached. And, Billy Napier was having a good first season. And then it kind of seemed like
Hmm.
the wheels fell off the bus towards the end there. But, yeah, that one was a banger. Can't
Yeah, I
think of
mean
any.
we haven't really talked about the Oregon bowl game, and I mean I know it was a few weeks ago, but we kind of had a we had a couple off weeks there, and the schedule kind of tightened up a little. We can kind of talk about that. What I thought was a great win over North Carolina. I know Carolina ended the season unranked and all that stuff, but I mean for Oregon, I feel like that was a big win.
Yeah, that was huge, man. We played well. Obviously, the walk-off field goal for the win was awesome. And then it wasn't a field goal. We scored a touchdown and got the extra point at the end.
Yeah, extra
It was
point.
an extra point that went off
It was a doink.
the upright.
Yeah. Um, but anyways, one side note was that boy, that field was so chewed up.
That it was disgusting.
Yeah, like I don't know if that's not every baseball field that does that, right? Like because like the game was
Mm,
at Petco Park.
yeah, I guess I had gotten a ton of rain and it just really ate everything up, but the field was horrible.
Yeah, the field is really bad. But yeah, man, that was a fun one. A close
Hmm.
game. We get a win over a respected opponent in North Carolina. Just after the news that Bo Nix is coming back next season, gave
Hmm.
me a lot of hope going into next year, man. As well as a fun game to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like we were all very, very excited when we heard that Bo Nix was coming back, and of course we're getting a new offensive coordinator. So I mean, heading into a bowl, I mean, a new offensive coordinator, they could have had every single excuse in the book to like not go out and like have a good game offensively, which you could tell, there was a little disruption from like previous games to that bowl game, but it was just a feel good Oregon win, man. Like just coming up and like Bo Nix like taking them down the field for a game winning touchdown,
Yeah,
like Coda catching his last catch in college football is a touchdown to like win the game, like huge, man. Like it was a good day to be an Oregon fan, and it made me really, really excited for next season.
And old Dan Lanning went toe to toe with probably one of the most respected college football
Hmm.
coaches ever, and Mac Brown. So,
Yeah,
I mean, you'd love to see that. I mean, not to put it on Coach Lanning or nothing, but we saw two games where you could almost say he was outcoached at points. But yeah, no, just a great way to end off the season overall. Super excited about the team next year, man. We got a
yeah,
bunch of young talent coming back. We're signing absolutely nuclear, 2023 class. So
yeah,
um, I've never really paid too much attention to recruiting or anything. So I'm not sure how like quickly it's going to translate from like a recruiting class to like materializing in these people being on the field. So um, yeah, I think we had a lot of concerns like at edge and defensive line and in this defensive secondary. And it seems like we kind of answered all those questions. So super excited for next year, man. Just get back to some Oregon football, man. Get our feet under us and just play the way we know we can, baby.
yeah, absolutely.
yeah. Before we move on to the next segment, boys, I got kind of a funny story for you. So, as you guys know, over the holidays, I was out in Wyoming, and I'm on my way back, and this is New Year's Eve, and I'm coming down the 15. We're in Utah, so of course I'm seeing a bunch of like Utah Ute stickers on all the vehicles. Don't
Hmm.
think much of it, but then we go through Arizona, and then we're headed like through Vegas and back into California, and I'm still seeing Utah Ute stickers on the vehicles that are traveling the same direction as me to sunny Southern
Mm,
California.
Uh huh.
mm.
And I'm just like, what is going on? Like, why are there Utah fans here? It's not translating in my head like why I'm seeing the Utah fans, right? And then I look on ESPN the next day and I realize that the Rose Bowl is that the next day after that. And
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. They're going to Pasadena to go watch the game. And then for Penn State to just come out and do what they did to them, I was like, you guys got got. Oh, you guys making that long drive to the game, man. That was not worth it.
yeah. I mean, been there. I mean, not like out of state, but we've definitely gone to a game before and watched our team get waxed. It is just no fun, man. It just sucks the whole time. Um, definitely not the way you want to end the season either. But Utah, they tried.
Yep.
So TC, I hear you've got a classic game for Beach Mag to 1v1 each other in here.
Yeah, definitely, guys. So I got a banger cooked up for you guys. Okay. So basically, this is how it's gonna go, guys. I am going to give you guys one clue at a time, and the game is to guess the player. NFL edition, right? So they're all going to be NFL guys. So I'm going to give you the clue, and then you guys can guess. But for each clue I give, you only get one guess. So you can't just spitball names out there, okay?
It's a classic
So,
guess.
yeah, so basically it's the Guess Who I Am game, right? Okay, let's just dive right into it here, boys. First clue.
Are we buzzing or blurting or what's strat?
Um, just say it. Just say your guess if you
All
have
right,
a guess.
show.
Paul Blurt.
Guess the player, boys. I won the Heisman. I work on Fox's Big Noon Kickoff. I went to 9 Pro Bowls. I played for the Raiders and the Packers. I went to Michigan.
That Charles Woodson?
That's Charles Woodson,
Oh
Schmack. You
my
got it.
gosh,
I was getting a little nervous because that was my last clue, boys.
I was so lost for a second.
I was like, with the Raiders and the Packers, I thought you guys would have had it there for sure. But okay, this was going to be a little bit trickier, boys. Just a little warning here. Who am I? I am widely recognized as the GOAT for my position. I went to the University of Miami. I scored a very famous touchdown for the Chicago Bears. I
Devin Hester.
also. It's Devin Hester, Schmag. You got it. The other clues were I also played a little wide receiver, and the last one was I return kickoffs.
Yeah.
Just in case we got into a similar situation where
We're obviously talking about when Devin Hester ran back the opening kickoff of the Super Bowl that I called, right?
Yep. Exactly
All
right, Shmang. All right, guys. Jumping into the third one. Chach, you got to get on the board here, buddy.
Don't
know,
let me
my
beat you.
gosh.
Please don't let me beat you.
I played wide receiver. I'm one of the best FIFA video games players out there. I love McDonald's and cigars.
Ocho Cinco.
Yep.
Oh,
Cinco,
yeah.
man.
Oh,
Yeah. Chach, you're on the board there, buddy.
very nice.
All right, guys.
McDonald's and cigars. I love that.
Okay. This one's gonna be a little bit more current here, boys. The first three were all throwback guys there, but here we go. I'm playing for my second NFC team. I went to high school in Colorado. My nickname is just 3 letters. Fantasy managers have a love-hate relationship with me. I am a
Oh,
running
wait,
back.
no. Hold on. It's Christian McCaffrey.
Yep, CMC. That's right, Schmag. You got it. Yep. Last clue was I went to Stanford. Okay, boys. Last one here. This one's going to be a little bit tricky. I play in the AFC. I know, that really narrows it down.
16, baby.
I went to Alabama.
Mm.
I am a running back. I'm young, but put up 1,000-yard seasons in my
Josh
first 2
Jacobs.
years. Wrong.
No,
You
it's
can't guess
Derrick
again.
Henry.
Also wrong. I'm not a fan of the Browns, Bengals, or Ravens.
It's Najee Harris.
It is Najee Harris, boys. Schmug, you got the dub on this version of Guess the Player. Man, I hope you guys enjoyed that one. I thought that one was really fun.
That's a good one. Sorry, Judge. I'll sell next time so you can get a couple points. At least
All
it
right,
wasn't a shutout.
all right, all right, all
Yeah,
right.
but Chach knew the McDonald's and cigars one.
That's really the
And
only one
Chad,
that mattered, anyways.
Which I
So
mean that is the important one.
exactly right, boys.
okay, real quick, boys. I got two particular situations I want to talk about real quick.
Yeah.
First being the Derek Carr situation. What do we think?
Oh.
Do we any predictions, any thoughts going into the off season here about kind of how this is going to unfold? Or
Yeah, I got a couple thoughts on where Derek Carr can end up, right? Um, and really, they're all in the NFC South for some reason.
hey, yo,
But I'm liking the Saints as a potential destination. I'm liking Carolina as a potential destination. I'm also liking Tampa Bay if Tom ends up either retiring or leaving to try to fill his shoes. I don't know money or cap or any of that kind of thing, but those teams came to my mind first. Like kind of those teams that might be like feeling like they're a quarterback away, or if they could maybe just get some stable quarterback play. Last one was maybe the Jets with the
Mm,
Zach Wilson situation going on. Um, a team like that. Any thoughts? Any other spots you guys were thinking?
yeah, I mean I think we're all pretty much in agreement that Derek Carr is pretty much 2 feet out the building at this point. Um,
Well, he
I
posted on
mean,
Instagram today. He posted a farewell to
yeah,
Raiders Nation today.
yeah. So I mean, unless they just come like back with something ridiculous and some giant contract or some something, which I very much highly doubt after the Raider season. They really, turned it around, but I mean, him getting like benched and stuff, that's never a good look. Um, I don't know, man. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of shakeups after this season, and I mean, especially some of these postseason teams. I mean, you look at teams like, I mean, teams like Dallas, teams like I mean, how fed up are like these teams that like have this quarterback that are kind of who are in the similar situation as Derek Carr, where they're almost there, they're not quite there, and maybe like a more veteran guy. I mean, teams like Dallas, Tennessee kind of comes to mind maybe a little bit.
It's
just fired
Tennessee.
their Tennessee just fired their offensive coordinator. I know they just fired their offensive line coach as well. So it really kind of seems like they're trying to clean house and get some more guys in. Tannehill is very, very similar to Derek Carr in a lot of ways, and I think Tennessee maybe goes for a more veteran kind of quarterback. They've kind of done that in the past, after Mariota. TC, I like your pick with the Jets. I think there's some teams with like younger guys also that aren't quite panning out how they want them to, and I mean, could potentially land there. I mean, you know, Houston, another team where he might be able to wind up at. But there's a lot of landing spots for him, man, and I have no doubt that Derek Carr is going to find a good team. And I mean, he's a good quarterback, So I think
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting, though.
definitely a top half of the starters in the league. Like
100%.
he's probably not cracking that top 10, but definitely top half. Chach, what are your thoughts?
yeah, I mean, personally, as a New Orleans Saints affiliate, um,
Mm,
I mean, I like it. I mean, I know we've kind of been stuck in this loop of kind of playing more veteran dudes, but I just don't necessarily love the quarterback depth in this draft outside of the top two, um, being Stroud and Bryce Young.
Yeah,
But yeah, so I think if Derek Carr gets by for a couple years, let's develop a young guy, something like that. That would be cool. Carolina, honestly, I think might be too high in the draft.
yeah,
We'll see though. I could, yeah, and Tampa Bay is going to be high too because they're already like in the high teens or early 20s or something like that. Um, yeah, I just can't believe it, man. Like just sailing down the river like this, and you're one of a new coach. He's been the face of your franchise for a long time, so it's definitely a tough thing
yeah,
to see, and I'm sure it's not easy to swallow for anyone in the front of house for the Raiders there. So
yeah. Not only was he the face of your franchise for many years, but really he's the main reason why Devontae Adams agreed to come to almost at Oakland, but agreed to come to Las Vegas. Was to team up with Derek Carr, right? And it's come out that Devontae says he's still cool with being a Raider and all that stuff, but he was a major recruiting tool for you too in the off season, and then just to kick him down the curb like that, man, it's kind of disrespectful to Derek Carr. Not kind of, it's completely disrespectful to Derek Carr. Everything he's done for you, gotten you through some really tough years. You know what I mean? And like we said, he's a top half starting quarterback in the NFL. Like to do him this dirty when you're not even going to make the playoffs anyways. Like I get you want to maybe see what you got in Jared Stidham, but at the same time, man, like I feel like Derek Carr's earned more than he's gotten from the Raiders these past couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll throw it in there too. I mean, I mentioned a couple other teams, but I mean, even if Washington wanted to go out and try to pick up Derek Carr, I mean, I am not opposed to that at all. I mean,
That's a good one.
Carson Wentz needs to be gone. It just didn't work out. The injuries, man, we can't do it. We need something more solid. I love Taylor Heineke. Great dude, great football player. Love the lunch pail attitude that dude brings, but I mean, it obviously there's someone or people in the Washington organization that don't want Heineke as a starting guy, which is, I mean, fine, but we need to bring in someone with some experience and who doesn't get hurt every single season like Wentz does. So I'd love to have him in Washington. I'd be stoked for that.
Yeah, then kind of switching gears a little bit, but kind of in the same realm. I think we should talk about the Lamar Jackson contract situation.
This is a weird one.
Personally, I think the Ravens are gonna. I think they're gonna lose Lamar, and they're gonna highly regret not getting him contracted at the beginning of the season. Personally, that's
Yeah.
my.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that's kind of how I'm feeling about the whole thing. We saw Earl Thomas a couple years back. He was playing without a contract for next year, got hurt, same kind of thing. Lamar's hurt right now. Not the exact same magnitude, but and I mean, especially with all we're talking about these quarterback changes around the league. That's an easy way for Lamar to gain quite a bit of leverage in a quarterback friendly market. So I don't know, man.
Yeah. I think some of the uncertainty that comes from this is we really just don't know what's going on with Lamar right now. Like, um, there's been speculation that he just doesn't want to play right now. He was diagnosed with the PCL strain like 6 weeks ago, and from all the doctor's reports, it's a 2 to 3 week recovery time for an injury like that. And just to be clear, I'm not saying that Lamar's not hurt right now and that's why he's not playing, but that's just some of the speculation that's coming out around this story is like he was supposed to be back after 2 to 3 weeks. We're on week 6 right now. We're going into the playoffs. Like, what's going on with Lamar right now? Like, just all the uncertainty. And then the contract situation is just not making it any better. Um, as well as when Coach Harbaugh, the coach of the Ravens, was asked about Lamar today, he didn't come out and straight and just say like, "Oh yeah, Lamar's hurt. That's why he's not playing." He's like, "Oh well, I'm just not going to talk about it right now." Like, so just everything is just getting really weird right now, and you don't know exactly what's going on. Does it have to do with the contract? Is he just flat out hurt and that's why he's not playing? Like, what's going on with Lamar? Just really hard to tell. It's getting really murky.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of compounding factors. I mean, the contract issue, man, and I think the contract issues are going to get, I don't want to say worse because in the end it should be better for the players, but a lot of people are just after guaranteed money and these big like contracts that that these teams want to throw at players with a lot of incentive based stuff and not so much like upfront guaranteed money. Like players just don't want to do it anymore, especially guys like Lamar who are, in their contract season right now. I mean, he's already hurt. He goes down with another injury, like, or gets hurt even worse. Like, I mean, that affects long term plans, and that does affect your future contracts with different teams, man. And so there's a lot of things that it's a really bad situation, and it sucks. I mean, obviously we wish nothing, but but the best for these players and their health and everything. And it's a brutal sport, but Yeah, I mean, I don't know, and I know that Lamar put out a statement today. Um, I didn't read it all the way through, but I mean, basically saying he's not playing, and I mean the Ravens, have been a pretty solid team all season, and now he's not playing round one, and I mean it really changes things, as we'll get into later when we do our wild card pickums. But it's interesting, man. It's really interesting stuff for sure.
Yeah, kind of on this same note, it just spurred a memory in my head of the Saints with Michael Thomas. So it came out like maybe 4 or 5 days ago that so basically what happened is the Saints converted the rest of his 2022 salary into a signing bonus.
Mm.
And so, I mean, essentially, they're holding his contract hostage. And so, like, basically, Michael Thomas has to ensure that he's ready to play by training camp. If he's not, if he wants to move on from the Saints or whatever, then, like, basically, he's cut ties with that. But, like, I thought it was kind of interesting that they kind of did that with his contract to free up a bunch of contract space because, I mean, he has a very lofty contract and converting it to a signing bonus is essentially free money. So, but I've never heard of a team doing that before. So I mean, I don't know if this is something we could see moving forward. This kind of little manipulation games, but definitely interesting to see where this all kind of shakes out. And this Lamar thing is just getting uglier by the day, man. I mean, every day that it goes on, and I just keep seeing on Twitter, oh, the Ravens are gonna have to go to Tyler Huntley. Then Tyler Huntley's hurt, so they're gonna have to play Anthony Brown. And like, it's the playoffs, man, for a PCL sprain. Like, I
Yeah,
mean, probably more than half the quarterbacks in the playoffs. If their leg wasn't working correctly, they'd probably still play. But
yeah,
so I don't know, man. It's all kind of weird to me.
Definitely. And like we all recognize that the NFL is a business, right? And for some people, like it's more than that, right? And the drive is to win championships, and you're doing it for your guys, and all the right things, like all the reasons why you started playing football as a kid, like still are going on inside these guys' head that are playing. But for others, it's a business, right? And you're in it to make money and capitalize, and um, this is what you do for work, right? And it's just strictly that, right? And it just sucks to see like the business side interfering with the football side in the game that we all know and love, right? Like
right.
as much as I despise the Ravens, Lamar Jackson is a difference maker on the field for that team.
Yeah,
You're going up against the defending AFC champions this week. Like your team needs you. Like you just hope that it's not about the contract. It's not the business side that's keeping him off the field, right?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. You never like to see these kind of things happen where a technicality is holding people out of the game and then you get all these games that have asterisks on them. So they play the Chiefs, right? No, who do they get play? The Bengals.
Bengals.
Sorry.
yeah,
Yeah, so like they have to go play the Bengals, and then like say the Bengals beat the Ravens, they'll be like, "Oh, you beat us, but we didn't have Lamar." Like this, that, and the other. And so
mm,
once it comes around to this time of year, you just want to see the best possible team play the best possible team, kind of thing. So this is when the competition should be highest, and yeah, I mean, this is the exact reason why you handle contract stuff in the off season. That's why there's an off season.
right,
That's
exactly.
when you're supposed to get this stuff done. So.
Exactly right.
Um, I had one other thing in the back of my head, but I can't remember what it was. Oh, okay. Jim Harbaugh, boys, the Michigan.
Yeah.
Hmm.
He's getting in some tampering issues.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Michigan's, might go under suspension here for, I believe it was during COVID. I guess he was like zooming to recruits and stuff, in the no contact period, which is
Yeah.
essentially when you can't talk to recruits. So, uh, and also, I mean, his contract is another thing we need to talk about. Like, what do we see happening there? Do you think he's going to go to the NFL? Is he going to stay at Michigan? What are we thinking?
Yeah. I mean, Harbaugh's one of those guys that went from college into the NFL and actually had success the first time, right? Took Colin Kaepernick and the boys to a Super Bowl. Um, I could see him definitely going back. The money is obviously right.
Hmm.
Teams are going to be lining up to try to get a shot at him. But he's also got a good thing going at Michigan, man. Finally being able to get over the hump in Ohio State. I think he's in a win-win spot right now with whatever he chooses to do. Are you comfortable at Michigan and doing your thing? You're gonna make a boatload of money there if you decide to go back. If you go to the NFL, like you better have success, or it's going to be viewed as a bad choice. But at the same time, you're still going to get the bag. So either way, man, you're in a good spot.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's done a lot for himself at Michigan, and I think there's a lot, of upside to staying there and trying to, build a foundation, something kind of, in the vein of like what Nick Saban has done. I mean, Nick Saban will be a college coach until he's done coaching. It's where he's great at. And I mean, Harbaugh's a great coach and he's good at recruiting. If whether or not it's when the time he's supposed to be recruiting or not. But I mean, he's a great coach and he's done great things at Michigan. I mean, he's taken Michigan to, I mean, from a really kind of middle of the road team to, winning Big Ten titles and contending every single year with or without starting Heisman candidate running backs or with or without your starting quarterback. I mean, Cade McNamara went down mid-season and transferred during the season, and then McCarthy stepped in and played. So, I mean, I would assume he stays at Michigan. I just, I think that all this stuff in this investigation going on, I think it'll hopefully not put Michigan in too bad of a spot. But I bet he'll stay at Michigan.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't be shocked either way if he left or stayed. When these little scandals, if you will, kind of pop up, it's always kind of interesting to see how the coach handles it, especially a coach that, might already have one foot out the door. So definitely something to keep
Yeah,
an eye on moving forward. While we're talking about college football here, boys, we're going to do, you know, semester's over. Okay, boys? So
yeah,
report cards are due.
done and done.
So basically, we're going to go through the top 15 teams of the final AP ranking of the season here. We're just going to give them a grade, short little synopsis, why, or it could be short and sweet, just give them a grade. So, what do you think, boys? We're going to go 1 to 15 or 15 to 1?
Um, let's go 1 to 15.
All right, I got it pulled up right here for you, boys. So, all right. 1 is Georgia.
I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean that's A plus.
A plus plus, dude.
I mean, when you go
Yeah,
undefeated, you're number one all year, and then you cap it off with that national championship A plus.
yeah, I mean, going back to back, and then the last two times the team has went back to back in the last 20 years, Kirby Smart's been a part of. All right, yeah, that's an easy A plus.
Yeah.
Um, 2 TCU.
I'm giving them an A. I'm still giving them an A. I mean, you were a irrelevant program up until this year. You finished the year at number two. I mean, the embarrassing loss in the national championship, but a lot of teams would kill to be in a national championship game. So A.
Yeah, I'm gonna give TCU a B plus. Um, I think if they would have won their conference, if they would have beat Kansas State in that conference championship, I would have given them an A. But I'm going to go a B plus. I really like TCU and what they've done. Sonny Dykes is a great coach. B plus for me. Great season for TCU, and what a incredible turnaround, man! Going from a 5-win team to being in the national championship, like insane, dude. And I mean, great season for them overall.
Yeah, I'm gonna go A minus. Yeah, like everything Schmager said, first year head coach. I mean, this was Max Duggan wasn't even their starting quarterback in the first game of the
Yeah.
season.
Mhm.
So I mean, you always love the you don't love for starting quarterbacks to get injured, but you love when the backup truly gets to play to his full potential and become something. So going A minus here. 3 Michigan.
That's going to be a B minus for me, guys. You still made it to the college football playoff, but you lost in the first round again. So B minus. You did what was expected, and that's it.
Um, I'm going to give Michigan an A. Now, bear with me here. I know I just gave TCU a B plus. I'm giving Michigan an A, which is a higher grade. Michigan lost Cade McNamara midseason. They lost Blake Corum, and they still managed to beat Ohio State in the Big 12 championship game, make it to the playoff, and then play an extremely close game against TCU. And Michigan shot themselves in the foot a bunch. But I'm gonna give Michigan an A. I think they, with what they had and kind of what they were given, that made the most out of it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm gonna go B minus here. Michigan had a pretty dang easy schedule. Obviously they handled Ohio State pretty handedly, which is, I mean, the game you got to win for those two schools. So, I mean, you win that one plus the rest of your easier schedule. I mean, that's a guaranteed trip to the playoff pretty much every time. So, yeah, but then, like Schmuck was saying, self inflicted. If you're the second best team on the field and you lose, it's one thing. But when you're the better team and you force yourself to lose, that's never good. So,
Yep.
yeah, B minus for sure. Their counterpart for Ohio State.
Again, B minus. You're one of the big dogs, and in the end, you didn't get it done. You were not the Big Ten champ. Kind of just middle of the road as far as Ohio State standards go.
Yeah, I'm gonna give them a B, just because of the fight that they put up against Georgia in the CFP. Um, just a B. I mean, they don't really have crazy strength of schedule. They didn't win their conference. Like, so, I mean, still a good team. B.
Yeah, I'm gonna go B as well. Everything Schmag was just saying, like, and also I think they're in trouble next year. I mean, yeah, you turn that receiver room, but I mean, the receivers only so much if you don't have a quarterback to get them the ball. So we'll see how that kind of shakes out.
Right.
5, Alabama.
Yeah, they're getting a D. This is the first non-passing grade. It's Alabama. You don't make the college football playoff. You're not a SEC champ. Um, by their standards, it's a D. They still had an 11-2 season, guys. Like, not a bad season at all. But by Alabama standards, this was a failure. This is not how it was supposed to go.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta agree with you, TC. I'm gonna say, I mean, yeah, a D from Bama, dude. I mean, it's just I mean, it's crazy to give an 11-2 team a grade like that, but I mean,
Exactly.
when you look at, I mean, a loss to Tennessee, a loss to LSU, like not even making the playoff. Like, I mean, I'm sure Saban would, if he were on here, I'd give him an F. Like, just it's very very uncharacteristic of Tennessee. I'm sorry, not Tennessee, of Bama. So give him give him a D, dude.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like you said, Bama not in the conference championship or a playoff spot. First time we've seen them lose 2 games since like 2009 or something. Like, they're just crazy stuff, man.
Crazy.
C minus. I mean, they still had from college football standpoint, they had a good season, but from Alabama standards, not the best to say the least. 6, Tennessee.
Yeah, I'm gonna go a B minus for Tennessee. They did a lot to get their program relevant again, but obviously, or honestly, I think they were a little bit overhyped this year. Again, no SEC title game, no playoff, but by Tennessee standards, you still had a pretty good season.
Yeah, I'm gonna give Tennessee an A minus. I know that they had that really really rough loss to South Carolina there at the back half of the season, and that thumping by Georgia, which join the club, dude.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, Tennessee, I mean, had a great season, man. They freaking beat Bama. That was a crazy game. There's a lot to be excited about in Tennessee, and I mean, I think going forward too. I mean, they're going to get an excellent preseason ranking next year. Um, but yeah, A minus for Tennessee. It was a great season for them.
Yeah, I mean, I give them an A. They kind of get lumped into those teams that were staying healthy away from maybe making the playoff. If Hayden Hooker doesn't go down, maybe it's all speculation, but so, some unfortunate breaks. Staying healthy is half the battle, but so I'm just gonna give it a classic A. Number 7, Penn State.
I'm gonna go C. Um, Not a standout season from Penn State. They did cap it off with a nice I'm gonna go C plus because they capped it off with that nice victory in the Rose Bowl. Shout out to my boy Joey Porter Jr. of course. But yeah, C plus.
Yeah, I'm gonna go B for Penn State. I mean, 11 wins, 2 losses, cap it off with a Rose Bowl victory. I mean, they come out of the Big 12, so I mean, Michigan, Ohio State, but I mean, bronze ain't bad all the time. So B.
Yeah, I'm gonna go C plus here. I think this is a program in ascension mode. However, I think this team over the coming years is a team to watch out for.
Mhm.
Once they can, maybe start knocking off the Ohio States and Penn States of the world, or sorry, Michigan of the world, then things might get a little easier for them. So, um, 8 Washington.
Eh.
F. They get an F. I mean, their biggest accomplishment was dashing our hopes and dreams. So they're getting an F.
Wow. Um. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, the hate runs deep. That's for sure. Um. I mean, I'll give them like a D plus just because they're getting Penix back next season.
Traitor.
Listen, easy. Okay. I need to be try to be impartial here. Um, I mean, yeah, a D plus. I mean, they're Washington. I mean, it's them. I mean, their biggest, like I said, Michael Penix Jr. is coming back next season, and that's their biggest accomplishment aside from knocking Oregon out of the CFP. So
Yeah, they get a
D
D
plus.
minus. I mean, they were. If their dude doesn't grenade Bo's ankle into 89 pieces, we win that game every day of the week. Like, you can't tell me otherwise. So, and then they just get wiped off the face of the earth after that. So, but I mean, yeah, like, yes, I mean, they were decent. They're a decent team. I mean, they were really good at throwing the ball. I think they were into like second in yards per game or something like that. But
Yeah,
so that's something. But anyways, moving on. Number 9, Tulane, big green wave, baby.
Yeah, shout out to the Green Wave, man. I'm giving
shout
them an
out to
A
Green Wave.
plus.
A
I mean,
plus plus, dude.
yeah. I mean, you take down USC in the bowl game. You made some noise, man, and that's not easy to do out of that American Athletic Conference. For you to be on that stage and take down the Heisman Trophy winner, that's enough to get you an A in my book, guys.
Yeah, A plus plus for Tulane, dude. I mean, you're finishing top 10 in the country in your Tulane. Like that's a lot to be excited about, and you beat USC to do it. Like, and the Heisman Trophy winner, whether or not if that was a fluke or not. I mean, yeah, A plus plus for me, man.
Absolutely, dude. Like, A plus is the only grade you can give this Tulane team. I mean, as you can tell, they are the only General 5 team in the top 25, I believe. But
Yeah,
um, yeah, huge win against USC to close out the year. And like we were talking about before, that's just a huge kickstart to your team for the next season. So interesting to see
yeah.
how that goes. Number 10, Utah.
Yeah, guys, I'm just gonna go with the C. Um, right in the middle of the road. Um, you did take down USC in that Pac-12 title game to keep them out of the CFP, so good job there. Just not a standout season, just really middle of the road. That's why they're getting the middle of the road grade. C.
I'm also going with C for Cam Rising, who will also be returning next season. Yeah, I mean they were average. They played a great game against Florida at the beginning of the season, and kind of just existed. But I mean, they did beat SC and in that Pac-12 title, so
Twice.
I'll give twice. Yeah, they beat SC twice. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm gonna
C
give them a
plus,
B because they beat
C plus.
because they beat
Yeah,
USC twice. Maybe love to see
love
that.
that.
Yeah, I mean, just pretty average, you know. But also, I mean, they've won 2 Pac-12 titles in a row. So
Yeah,
as much as I would love to just count them out right now, I mean, you just can't do it at this point.
yeah.
11 FSU.
Um, yeah, again, man, I'm going C. Just right in the middle of the road. Not a memorable year from them. Um, I can't even think of a memorable win that they had this year. Obviously, they were consistent all year with that 10-3, that 10-3 final record. But just right in the middle of the road again. C.
I don't even remember watching 1 second of Florida State football this season. I don't remember turning on a game and watching Florida State play at all. So I mean, they play in a weak conference. I mean, and still lost 3 games. So yeah, see, pretty average.
I'm gonna go B plus. This is another team in ascension mode. Don't
Okay,
say you didn't hear it here first, boys. Mark it
they
down.
got a
What is
bunch
it?
of dudes coming back.
Yep.
Is this a keep it down exclusive we're about to get hit
Yeah.
with?
January 12th, 2023. FSU is a team in ascension mode. First year head coach, just like the rest of them. They're recruiting at a high level. They have a good quarterback who is returning. They have a bunch of talent, including Micah Pittman, trader. Anyways, um, yeah. So I'm giving a B plus here, boys. So I'm just saying, keep your eyes on them. Number 12, USC.
Yeah, I'm gonna go a D minus. I would have given them an F, but they did have a Heisman winner this year, so I'm gonna take them out of the F range and put them in the D minus because they scheduled cupcakes all year. Every time they were tested, they crumbled, and then you got beat by Tulane in your bowl game that you were supposed to win by 50.
Yeah, TC, I know you were being nice and doing the D minus for the Heisman winner, but the Heisman winner also wrote F Utah painted on his fingernails before the Pac-12 game, and got blown out. F for SC. The defense is atrocious. Caleb Williams has so much to learn about life and football in general. They lost their bowl game. They lost, Travis Dye. Like I, I don't know what takeaways. You didn't make the playoff. You had a cupcake schedule. You didn't win your conference. Like I don't know. It's hard to find positives in that. I guess Caleb Williams is coming back next season. I guess that's your positive out of it. But your defense is still sorry. So F.
Yeah, D minus for sure. Um, like you said, Heisman winner and all that good stuff. What Heisman winner doesn't show up for a press conference when he says he's gonna? And that's all I'll say about that. But anyways,
Mm.
yeah, losing to Tulane, losing to Utah twice one season. Um, also, by the way, all that talent they brought in last year, they're pretty much all leaving. So good luck with that. Good luck piecing that together next spring. And they went ahead and rehired their defensive coordinator, who let Utah drop 50 on them twice.
Yeah.
Number 13, Clemson.
Yeah, this one's kind of tough. I don't want to put them in the same category as SC, but they're getting a D plus from me, and that's just by Clemson standards. They're in the college football club, meaning that pretty much every year Clemson's going to be in the college football playoff. They didn't make it this year. Again, pretty much every time they were tested, they came up short. That's just not Clemson football to me, so they're getting a D plus.
Yeah. I give them a D plus as well. I mean, 11 wins is still something to be proud of, I guess. But I mean, you had quarterback issues all season. Your starter, who you went out and recruited, is now hit the transfer portal, moving to the Pac-12. Um, you lose your bowl game to a backup Tennessee quarterback. Like D plus. I mean, slightly below average on their standards, I guess.
I'm giving them an F because they're
Okay,
scapegoating.
here it is.
You can't be scapegoating in college football, okay? Like, I get that, maybe DJU didn't play to his full potential, but I mean, it's not going to solve all your issues, and I guarantee it, especially with,
It's true.
again, FSU's in ascension mode, so don't be surprised when Clemson is not the ACC champion next year. Moving on, 14, Kansas State.
Um, yeah, kind of shocked to see Kansas State sitting here at 14. I'm going to give them a C, right in the middle of the road. They obviously knocked off TCU in that Big 12 title game. So that was a big accomplishment. But I mean, besides that, I don't think I watched a second of Kansas State football this year, other than that Big 12 title game. They're gonna see.
Yeah, I'm gonna give them a C as well. Just, I mean, having the Big 12 title, obviously, big accomplishment for that school. But I mean, just really weird kind of losses throughout the season. So yeah, C.
Yeah, I'm going to go C minus here. It's kind of a weird season out of them. Like, I think they were one of the teams that were leading by like 17 or more against TCU, and then blew it in the second half. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely, yeah. I mean, just one of those weird teams, man. Like, I don't get how they're in the top 15. I mean, personally, but I mean, I guess I'm not on the AP poll either. So, all right, round things out here, boys. Number 15 is Oregon.
Yeah, they're gonna get an A from me. Um, I'm thinking about all the good times we had this year, boys.
Mm.
Beating UCLA, thinking we really have a shot at the college football playoff for many, many weeks. Bo Nix coming in and doing his thing in his first year. Dan Lanning coming in in his first year and doing his thing. A lot of hope going into next season. We cap it all off with the North Carolina victory in the bowl game. Um, I had a good time this year, guys. That's why I'm gonna go with the A.
Um, okay, so obviously my biased opinion is an A plus plus, easy. Um, but I'm gonna give Oregon a B plus.
First year head coach, man.
Yeah, absolutely, and this is why. There's a lot to look forward to. Dan Lanning in his first year, obviously, like the loss to Washington, the loss to Oregon State at the end of the season. There was just a lot of things that, like, there was a lot of mistakes that were made that I think could have been avoided throughout the season. But I mean, overall, like a great season for Oregon, especially compared to years past. And I mean, I think there's a lot to look forward to, but just based on kind of the way that we lost a couple of those games, I think that just knocks it down. If I'm being fair, just a couple, points for me.
That's the great thing about having our own podcast. We don't have to be fair, man. You can say what you want to say.
I said biased opinion, A plus plus, dude. Unbiased though. You gotta be realistic.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'll go B plus as well. Just because, I mean, you got to win one out of the two rivalry games, if not both of them. So, like we said, we were one grenaded right ankle away from it, but
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it goes sometimes. So, which we'll take it. I mean, Bo's coming back, like we said, we're bolstering with talent. I think we have like over 95 scholarship players, and you have to be at
Yeah.
85 to play a season. So, I mean, this is kind of what we've been talking about all year with quote unquote Dan Lanning's guys. I think that's what we're seeing. He's recruiting a bunch of SEC talent from the East Coast to the West Coast to the South to, I mean, right there in Oregon. So, really excited for where this team's going to go and take us and all that good stuff. So,
Yeah,
solid B plus for the year, though. First year,
Yeah. We could be
definitely.
having a very different conversation about how the year went right now. So, the fact that we're talking B plus A scores, in Dan Lanning's first season is, I mean, awesome.
especially since they had to trot out there and play this very same Georgia team that dropped a 65 bomb on TCU in week 1. I mean,
Right.
it would have been very easy for that team to just pack it in and say, we got fucking very difficult schedule. So that's not what they did. So, yeah, year 1, boys, moving forward.
Yep.
Um, Switching gears a little bit, boys. Why don't you say we get into our NFL pickems?
Yeah.
Mm.
As always, presented by DUBBY. Unlike any other drink in the category, DUBBY prides himself on developing a tried and true clean energy formula with the patented NeuroFactor technology. You can stay locked in all day with no crash or jitters. With no calories, no sugar, no maltodextrin, no fillers or artificial colors. Why not choose DUBBY? Visit DUBBY.gg and use code KEEPITDOWN for 10% off your purchase. Again, that's code KEEPITDOWN, all caps, no spaces, for 10% off your purchase. Boys,
Mm.
Wildcard Weekend,
Big one.
bunch of
Big
bangers.
one.
Banger alert inbound.
Yeah.
Also, I just wanted to be noted. We kind of stopped keeping track of college football pick'ems there for like the last week of the season, but I'm pretty sure Schmog won. So
Yeah,
next time we'll be
definitely.
better. Anyways,
Shout out TCU, baby.
all right. So kicking things off on Saturday, Seahawks at 49ers.
Yeah, this is an interesting one, man. Um, Seahawks have been a really fun team all year. Geno Smith coming in and getting the start at the beginning of the season. No one expected this team to make playoffs. They thought that they were going to be a top 5 draft pick for this upcoming draft, and they've had a great season, man. But unfortunately, I think it ends on Saturday. Um, you know, Niners just have that defense going right now, and so many playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. No matter who's playing quarterback, like all you have to do is get the ball into the hands of all those playmakers. I like the Niners at home here.
Yeah, I think the Niners just have, I mean, they're just so incredibly like they're just on fire right now, and I just don't know if there's any like stopping that at this point at this Saturday. I don't think there's any stopping that. Great for Seattle making it in, but I got San Francisco.
Yeah, I mean the only glimmer of hope for the Seahawks is that this will be the third time that they get to play the 49ers. So
True.
I mean, that's two whole games worth of film on the 49ers and what they do and all that stuff. So like I said, I think still the 49ers are going to be too much. I mean that defense with freaking Troy Polamalu Jr. back there,
Yeah.
like just insane stuff, man. So yeah, I'm thinking the 49ers are going to take it. This next one bums me out, man. Uh, you know, so the matchup is Chargers at Jaguars. Dude, I kind of like both of these teams going into the end of the season here.
Yeah,
Like the Jaguars are a fun little team to watch, dude.
definitely.
So,
Uh-huh.
yeah, it's a tough one. This is a tough draw for the Chargers too. You got to play it all the way across the United States at the Jaguars. Um, the Jaguars have a stingy little defense, and yeah, they have a lot of talent on offense as well. So I'm going to take the Chargers, but I think this is probably going to be one of the better games out of the slate here.
Yeah, definitely. This one's tough to predict for sure because both teams are pretty sporadic and unpredictable in their play. Both have won games that they shouldn't have won and lost games that they shouldn't have lost. So you inconsistency from both teams. Chargers have the better record and yet are still on the road. I think it might be time to take a look at the playoff seeding system for NFL.
Yeah.
Um, there's another game on the slate that this pertains to as well, but maybe time to start looking at an NBA type format where you just seed them directly by their record in the two conferences.
Yeah.
But I digress. For this particular matchup, boys, um, you know, I want to roll with Jacksonville at home. I really do, but just something deep down inside of me telling me Chargers, so I'm rolling Chargers.
You know what it is deep down inside you?
What's that?
Our boy J Herb,
Yep,
University of
exactly right.
Oregon.
Yep.
That's what it is. Because I'm also going with the Chargers. I mean, I can't root against J Herb at this point in time. He's doing great things, and he's the NFL quarterback that nobody said he would be, and he's doing awesome things. So I'm going Chargers.
All right, moving into Sunday, boys. This one. So we're looking at Dolphins at Bills.
Yeah.
Um, just maybe 3-4 weeks ago, we saw the Dolphins lose to the Bills at full capacity, and now they're going with their third string quarterback. Plus, I mean, the Bills maybe have the most storybook story being told in history right now. So, I
Hmm.
mean, you're taking the Bills here. This is going to be a splattering. I don't think there's any two ways around it. I mean, Buffalo is a
Yeah.
team on a mission, and yeah, taking Buffalo.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of feel for the Dolphins a little bit. They're going to be a stepping stone in what's going to turn out to be the Bills' story for this year. They have this huge rallying cry behind them now with Damar Hamlin's situation that's going on right now. Plus, I mean, going into the year, they were probably the most loaded team out of any in the NFL. Most talent. They've played super consistent football this year. Josh Allen, of course, is just that guy. Um, Obviously, got to go Buffalo on this one, guys.
Yeah. I'm going with Buffalo. I think it's going to be a rough day for the Dolphins.
Yeah, this is kind of the reason why I'm okay that the Steelers barely did not make the playoffs. I know that that would have been us traveling to Buffalo this weekend, and we would have been the sacrificial lamb. So I think it's good that we ended up with a winning record, but just barely missed playoffs just for this reason right here, guys.
All right, moving on. Giants at Vikings. This Viking team is just so weird to me, man. Like
Yeah.
they'll just
Yeah.
be playing so good, just lights out, and then like Green Bay will just drop a 35 bomb on them or something. Just something
Yep.
weird like that. Very unpredictable, and I kind of like the Giants, man. I like what they're doing. Obviously, boy Kayvon Thibodeau, shout out. Also, Daniel Jones is just a legendary player, man. Just running out there, doing his thing. I'm gonna take the Giants here. An upset here.
Yeah, Chach, I'm right there with you. I'm thinking that the Vikings are a little bit overhyped, and the record might be a little bit inflated. A little bit of inconsistency with this team. Um, while they are on upset watch for me, I don't think it's going to be this week. I don't think the Giants are going to be able to get it done. I'm going Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm also going with Minnesota. I think these are just two incredibly inconsistent teams, but I think Kirk Chains gets it done, dude.
Absolutely. Moving into what could be another splatter. Ravens at Bengals.
Yeah.
We were just talking about the whole Lamar thing. So they also could be rolling with a third string quarterback going to the Bengals. So, I mean, they have a decent defense still, but I mean, defense is not enough to win you games solely in the playoffs. So, I mean, defense might win championships, but it does not win wild card games. So, I'm going to take the Bengals here.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be the Bengals for me as well. They've really caught fire as of late. About midway through the season, you're kind of wondering what's going on with Cincinnati. They have answered a lot of those questions. They are coming back strong. Joe Burrow's on fire. He's got a lot of weapons around him, and like Chuck said, the Ravens are going in there, um, limping with the third string quarterback. You got to go Cincinnati, right?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think Cincinnati. I mean, especially if Anthony Brown's playing for for uh, for Baltimore. Us as Oregon fans know all about Mr. Anthony Brown's capabilities. So lots of bubble screens probably. Yeah, Bengals by probably a million.
But I will say this with these AFC North teams, it wouldn't be unlike them for it to become a slugfest and for the Ravens to be able to keep it close, even with the third string quarterback. So I don't know if it's going to be a blowout like we're all thinking, guys, but we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. Moving into the last wild card game, boys. Cowboys at Buccaneers. That's a really bad spot to be in if you're a Cowboys fan. Your team has kind of been struggling, and then you got to go to Tampa Bay and play playoff Tom. So that's not really exactly a winning formula. As much as it pains me, I think I'm going to take the Buccaneers here. Like I said, the house is kind of stacked against the Cowboys here.
Yeah, if you couldn't have guessed it, this is the other game that I was talking about earlier when I was talking about, maybe time to look at some reseeding. Um, the Buccaneers have a losing record, and yet they are going to get rewarded with a home playoff game, first round against um, Dallas, which in the regular season had a great year. What are they, 12-5 or 13-4, something like that, and yet they're on the road for the wild card game. Um, it's really hard to pick against Tom Brady, especially at home. Um, but I think I'm gonna do it here, guys. Tampa Bay just looks like they're kind of out of steam this year, man. You kept waiting for them to kick it in at the end of the season, or like to find their groove, or like whatever it is, and they just never impressed me throughout the year. On the other hand, Dallas had some great victories, and were inconsistent at times, but just so many weapons all over the field for them. Like, that has to mean something. I'm going with Dallas.
It's yeah. I mean, Dallas has the better record. They've beat pretty much for the most part beat the teams they were supposed to beat. You had a couple of close, scary calls there during the season, but I mean, I just like if it's January, right, in the NFL season, I have a really hard time not picking Tom Brady to
Right?
win games. I mean, it did. I mean, he's shown time and time again. It does not matter what happens during the regular season. If Tom Brady's in the playoffs, like he's gonna do his thing and he's gonna find a way to win. And he's found a way to win with a lot less than what he has now, especially with Mike Evans playing how he's playing. So I'm gonna go with the Buccaneers. Also, fun fact: Tom Brady is 7-0 against the Cowboys. So
Yeah, boys, and
Wow.
that's all I've got for you on the Pick'ems, boys. Anything else we want to touch on? It was a good little boys only episode, you know.
I got one real quick from the pickums real quick. Out of all of these teams in the playoffs, who is your guys' favorite to win the Super Bowl?
Yeah,
Looking at this list, and we'll update it every week according to like if your team loses or whatever. But looking at this list, who's winning it?
what I was actually thinking, guys, was what if we did like a March Madness style brackets, and we all fill them out, and we see who gets closest. Um, I thought that might be kind of fun. We'll keep you guys updated on that. But
Mhm.
anyways, my favorites going into the wild card weekend is really tough. Out of the AFC, I'm liking Kansas City.
Mhm.
Um, just really impressive what they've been able to do, kind of reshaping that offense without Tyreek Hill. Really just proving that Patrick Mahomes is exactly who we thought he was. Um, the NFC is a little bit harder for me, guys. I don't know who I love out of the NFC right now. If I had to pick, I guess I'm going with the Niners.
Mhm.
Just the most complete team, minus your quarterback. So that's why I don't love any team. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Chacho, about
Yeah, I
you?
mean, I think it's a AFC heavy year for sure. Um, Got to be the Bills or Chiefs. I'm betting,
Yeah. And mind you, you
but
do have the Eagles on the other side and the NFC side as well.
I don't think the Eagles are what they're cut out to be, man.
Mhm.
You know, they got Jalen playing banged up, if at all. I mean, we'll see. I don't know. There's some clips coming out of him at practice and stuff, not even throwing the ball yet, which, I mean, of course, it could just be him not wanting to aggravate his shoulder or whatever. But, I mean, it's going to
If
be
you
tough
had to
sledding.
pick out of the NFC, if you had to,
I mean, got to be the 49ers. It's got to be. I mean, that defense, like we were saying, you know, that defense doesn't win wild card games, but if you can make it to the big one, I mean, it'll definitely be a difference maker. So they just seem to create turnovers and not allow points, and just they're a unit, man. And their offense, you know, CMC, Debo Samuel, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk has turned into a great player. So, yeah, definitely going to be interesting. Yeah, we'll have to make some little brackets, boys, and you know, you got to have them due by tomorrow, so no cheating.
what about you, Schmag?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all pretty much on the same wavelength here. I, I mean, to me personally, the two teams that really stand out are Buffalo and San Francisco. I mean, it kind of seems like those two teams are on a collision course for a Super Bowl. I mean, it's just like everything in me believes that Buffalo is just going to have this complete storybook run, dude. And I mean, they were on the fringe last year, man. And I mean, they're there. They have the team for it. And I mean, especially now, I think it would just it all makes sense that Buffalo would win it this year. I mean, it's not going to be easy. I'm not saying it's they have a cakewalk just because to win the Super Bowl, but Buffalo's good, and I think they have a lot of momentum right now. So wouldn't be
Yeah,
surprised if they're there.
yeah. I got two kind of dark horses I want to throw out there as well. This is almost kind of seeming like a repeat year for the Bengals. You had the Chiefs and the Bills last year. Everyone thought they were 1-2, and then all of a sudden, Joe Burrow's just that guy in the playoffs, and all of a sudden, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are
Mhm.
unstoppable.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised if they get hot again. And I think you guys are a little bit down on those Dallas Cowboys. I really do. I think they can make some noise in the NFC as well. So only time will tell. Things are going to get interesting, man. This is one of the better weekends for NFL football, Wild Card Weekend.
Hmm.
Absolutely, boys. It's gonna be good to watch. You know, nothing like playoff football. Was college
Nothing
pro,
like it.
nothing like it. Anything else we want to touch on? Any vibes left?
Yeah, boys. I had um, one thing I wanted to talk about. Um, the whole Skip Bayless, DeMar Hamlin situation.
Uh,
I wanted to get your guys' take on it first before I give my take. If you guys are at home listening, basically what happened was right after the DeMar Hamlin incident went down, Skip Bayless tweeted out some of his initial thoughts on how things should be played out as far as the rescheduling of the game and things like that. And then all of a sudden, the Twitter world turned on him, and all of a sudden, Skip Bayless was trending, and he needs to be canceled. He needs to be this. He needs to be that. What was your guys' take on the whole situation?
I
I
mean,
mean, I
obviously the
go
sorry,
ahead,
Schmack.
go charge. No, you're good. You good.
Obviously the public kind of just took it wrong, but also, you know, if you're Skip Bayless, that is just not the time to use your witty sarcasm. Like, it's just like that is just never going to hit like you want it to. I mean, it's obviously when someone's life. We're talking about a human's life at the end of the day, not just a football player or anything like that. To use sarcasm in that kind of fashion, it's never going to end well. So I think that was poor judgment on his part, but also, I mean, for them being the Twitter world, aka to take it this far out of proportion. Obviously, he's not meaning any ill will towards Damar Hamlin or insinuating that the game is actually more important than the dude's life, because that's obviously not what he said. But again, a little maybe mistimed with the sarcasm.
Yeah, and I mean that. Yeah, I mean because that the tweet that everyone's talking about wasn't even his first tweet
No.
regarding like what had happened. He had put one out talking directly about what had happened to DeMar like a few minutes before that, and then he was talking about the rescheduling of the game and like if they would cancel the game, and he's kind of looking ahead into the future. And now obviously we're seeing a neutral site in the in the AFC Championship potentially, depending on what happens because of that. Um, so I mean, Twitter needs to calm down just for a second, like chill out, hold on. Like that wasn't even the first thing he said. He was definitely looking out for the dude's well-being before that. But also, Skip Bayless, dude, you also got to chill and like let's not like jump straight. Like let's worry about the now, because I mean, it's not like we're dealing with a concussion. It's not like we're dealing with a broken leg, an Alex Smith situation or a Tua situation. I mean, that was unlike anything that we have ever seen before, and hopefully we never ever have to see something like that again. But I mean, that was just completely different than anything ever in the history of sports. So I mean, yeah, I mean, like Josh said, I mean, kind of just bad timing on his part. Maybe we just hold off until we make sure the dude's going to be okay first, and then maybe we start, talking about the future. But that's my take on it.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I was confused with the outrage. I really was, because you go back and you look at the tweet and you're like, what? What did he say that was wrong? He is a sports journalist. He's covering the sport that he's paid to cover. Like, while we were all very, very concerned about what was happening to Damar Hamlin that night, like those thoughts were running through everyone's head as well. Like, you turn on the Monday Night Football game, and all of a sudden it's canceled in the first quarter. Like, everyone's wondering, like, how's the NFL going to handle this? And more to that fact, if you're gonna be mad at anyone, be mad at the NFL, man. Because
Yeah,
if you guys remember, Damar Hamlin goes down, gets ambulanced off the field, and the quarterbacks start warming up
yeah,
before ultimately the coaches come together and decide basically to cancel the game. Like, the NFL just would have let them play it out. Like, if you're going to be mad at anyone, it should be at the NFL, not someone sitting at home wondering what the hell is going on in Skip Bayless covering the sport that he is paid to cover, whether you like the guy or not. Like, those thoughts are valid. The only thing that you can knock him on, like you guys said, was the timing of it.
hmm,
So I mean, you go back and look at the tweet. Nothing disrespectful to Damar Hamlin was ever said by Skip that night.
yeah,
He's just having genuine concerns about like what's going on right now. Like, how are they going to handle this
yeah,
situation? So I was um, confused on why everyone was so upset with the guy. That's his
yeah,
job.
yeah. I mean, I think if it's like other people, I don't know if there's like such a reaction to it. But I
Hmm.
mean, Skip, he's that guy that has the opinion that everyone just loves to bash on and to hate on, and he says incredibly outlandish things all the time. And so that was kind of like, kind of the straw on, that kind of broke the camel's back. And um, timing is everything, man. And I don't think he necessarily picked the best timing, but I mean, also slightly he's doing his job. So I mean, I get it, but you know, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, not a huge dub out of Skip Bayless, but also big L to the Twitter user fan base.
Hmm.
yeah,
It's a bad take in general, boys.
Yeah, and former athletes were coming for his neck on Twitter that night too. Like, it's not just nobody's off the street.
hmm,
Well, I mean, that's because he said
yeah,
something bad about him in the past. I mean, that's a given.
Definitely. But in more positive news, guys, how much relief have you guys had like the past couple of weeks with all the progress that Damar Hamlin has made? Just in the past couple of days, he was moved to Buffalo and discharged from the hospital. Will continue his recovery at home. Obviously, just a lot of relief. We're super happy that he's pulled through this horrible event that's happened in his life. Um, you know, like we said, you're watching that Monday night football game, and all of a sudden you're wondering if this young man's going to live or not. And for him to be doing as well as he is, just I think we're all having a big sigh of relief right now, and hope he continues that progress.
Yeah, man. I
Yeah,
mean
actually,
that was, I mean, just so incredibly scary to like to watch that happen live and to like kind of be like kind of front row seat to that whole thing. I mean, we haven't seen anything like that before, and I mean, it's nothing short of a miracle that that guy is alive and well today, and like continuing, to hopefully what we see is a full recovery. And I mean, shout out the medical staff, shout out though that assistant trainer. I don't have his name in front of me right now, but the one who jumped in and started doing CPR and like it's crazy stuff, and it's nuts. I remember just after it happened, and I just remember I stayed up like half the night, like just like refreshing Twitter and refreshing the news, and like you know, as someone who played sports for a long time, and I mean like it's scary stuff, man. I mean, no matter how you look at it, I mean we haven't seen stuff like this to that magnitude before. So yeah, we're here on the Keep It Down podcast. We're very very glad that um, Damar Hamlin's doing better. So
yeah. What I'm kind of interested to know is um, like what the trainer saw. Like because obviously
yeah.
nothing's really going to come out on it until everyone knows that Damar Hamlin's healthy and all that good stuff, and it seems like it's trending that way as of now. But because in like when we were watching it, like he literally goes out to like check on him just like every trainer does, and like immediately is on the walkie-talkie, like telling someone that like, hey, this isn't like something's not right here,
Hmm.
which is crazy to think about. That it was like a heart cardiac event kind of thing. Which I mean, obviously I'm no doctor, but I mean you would think that there would be no obvious signs that something like that was going on, but I mean you never know. So definitely be interesting to hear more about kind of what the whole experience was like on the field for the trainers and everyone
Yeah,
who essentially saved this man's life. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then kind of to follow up with that, you guys might have to help me with the name right here, but um, Sunday night football last week, you got Packers and Lions, and one of the linebackers from Green Bay
Mm,
gets ejected for pushing one of the medical staff. Is it? Is he played at Georgia? Is it Walker? What's his last
it's
name?
different. Same name, different. That Walker's on the Jaguars.
Ah, gosh, yeah, Schmog, look it up for me,
I
so I
think
don't
it's
have to.
like I want to say it's Trey or Trayvon or something like that.
That's what I want to say as well. But anyways, pushes the medical staff as they're coming onto the field, gets ejected, and then just throws the biggest temper tantrum leaving the field. Like imagine yourself when you're 7 years old and you get in trouble and your way back into the room. He's like, "I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything, man." Like just waving his arms about, the dude. Not if you want to talk about bad timing, is this dude from the Packers, man, with the horrible timing. Not only pushing the medical staff as they're coming on the field, and then throwing the massive temper tantrum. Like, dude, you turned yourself into a clown on Sunday Night Football.
Mr.
Yeah,
Quay Walker, rookie,
boy.
Mr.
Yeah,
Quay Walker.
yeah. So I was
Yeah, I
right
want to
with
say he was
Walker,
like
but
5 or 6 tackles away from like a bonus also,
yeah,
and
That's
breaking
about
like
it.
the Packers rookie sack or tackle record or something like that. So
Yeah. I mean, and over something just so stupid, like the Lions, running, I think it was Lions running back or wide receiver goes down, and, the trainer's just trying to give himself a little room to like look at his guy, and then he just like shoves him from behind, I mean, obviously he has a lot to learn about, game management and controlling yourself, but not a good look. And yeah, the temper tantrum in the tunnel after, loved it.
that is effectively gonna do it for episode 14 of the Keep It Down podcast. For everyone listening, just keep liking, following, subscribing, rating 5 stars, all that good stuff. Follow us on Instagram at Keep It Down Pod. Feel like we're seeing, let us know. The DMs is always open on the Keep It Down podcast Instagram page. So,
Slide in.
Yeah,
yeah.
slide on in.
Boys, why don't you give a little sign off, huh?
Yeah, boys. Happy to be back. Another great episode of the Keep It Down podcast. And just remember, it's okay to kiss the homies goodnight.
No way I have to follow that up. Thank you everyone so much for listening. Yeah, let us know. I mean, shoot us a DM on Instagram, leave a comment, let us know. Do you agree with our picks? Do you disagree with them? Ray, go ahead and hit us up about our Tennessee takes, because you always do. But yeah, let us know, guys, and thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate everyone out there listening. Hey, go get some DUBBY, new flavor, big energy tears just dropped. Go copy
Let's
some
go.
of that. Yeah, so this has been the Keep It Down podcast, boys. Catch you next time, huh?